other royal family. And Robert and Ethel Kennedy were just the second most loved Kennedy family after JFK and Jacqueline. Between the two of them, they have 11 children, Robert and Ethel Kennedy, and it is known that he's had many affairs on the side. Even then, she's said to have gone on record and said that I always knew he came back, not just for the children, but to me also. And that kept me sane. So over to you, James.
Okay, so if you look at his horoscope, he has the ascendant ruler, Mars, in the 7th. Now, he's got two malefics in the 7th, Mars and Saturn. That's going to cause some problems. But even though Mars is in a bad sign in Libra, it's opposite its own sign, this is the ascendant ruler in the 7th house. So the bond is very strong. The bond is very strong. Now, the Mars in the 7th can either be a lot of fighting, or it can be a partner that's very Marsy. Ethel Kennedy was very, very, very Marsy. She has Mars right on the ascendant. The ascendant is 9 Aquarius. Mars is 10 Aquarius. She loved sports. She was very talented in swimming and tennis. She was big in sports, very physical. Okay, so that fits there, that he's going to get someone that is Marsy. The fact that she's Marsy in a positive way, that she's very into sports, or if she was in military or police work, that also would satisfy the Mars. Then it doesn't have to be fighting so much. Okay. The other thing is, if you look at Robert Kennedy's chart, Rahu is 7 houses away from the moon. So when you look at Chandra Lagna, you know, I don't always look at Chandra Lagna. I have too much to look at, but I always notice if there is a planet 7 houses away from the moon. If Jupiter is 7 houses away from the moon, the partner is going to be spiritual and religious. If Mercury is 7 houses away from the moon, the partner is going to be mental, intellectual. You have to add that to the natal 7th house. But this Rahu, by the degrees, the moon is 5 degrees and Rahu is 5 degrees.
Right.
So that Rahu, so the partner is going to be very much like Rahu, as well as Mars and Saturn. It's like having Rahu. So, and you know, the thing I have to dispel so much, people think that Rahu and Ketu are these horrible planets. They are not. They can be horrible depending upon where they're placed. But Rahu in this sense can be a powerful person, a person with confidence, a person that's worldly. And I think that's true of her. If you look at her horoscope, it's fascinating because she married someone who was very, very prominent and very religious. Okay. So this guy, she's got, Leo is the 7th house ruler. Leo is the 7th house, and the ruler of the 7th house is the sun. And the sun is 4 degrees away from Jupiter in Jupiter's own sign. So the partner is going to be religious, philosophical, spiritual, special, and it's in the money house, so the partner has to be wealthy. Okay? Both of her parents were alcoholics. This is fascinating. She loved them. I just read about her today. It said they were both alcoholics, but she loved them dearly. The ruler of the 4th house is Venus, and Venus is 1 degree away from fallen Mercury. Now, this is something that I've told many astrologers. They often say, oh, Venus is exalted. It's great. No, Venus is terrible. Even though it's exalted, it's next to a fallen planet, very tight. Mercury is very good because it's next to an exalted Venus. Anyway, so the ruler of the 4th house is next to a fallen planet. That's the alcoholism of the mother. In the 10th house, you've got 2 malefics, Saturn and Ketu, in the 10th house. Some people take the 10th house to be the father. Some people take the 9th house. If you take the 9th house, Again, Venus rules the ninth. It's conjunct the fallen Mercury. In any case, Neptune is in the seventh house of her chart. Neptune is illusion and deception and alcoholism. She could have married an alcoholic, but she didn't, or drugs, but she did marry someone where there was illusion and deception, and that's the Neptune. Now, I would not look at this horoscope and know that the partner was going to die. I wouldn't know that. The Mars aspects the seventh house, but Mars aspects the seventh house in lots of charts. It is possible that in the Navamsha, the ruler of the seventh house is Mercury, and Mercury is in the 10th, but it's with a fallen planet. I do not usually use aspects. I never use aspects in the divisional charts, but conjunctions, I sometimes think they might work. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it does. It's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But he died in what, 60? Oh, wait a minute. When did he die? I don't know exactly. Yeah, 68 or 69. He died in the.
He was also assassinated.
He died in the he was what?
He was also assassinated.
Yeah, so he died in Mercury Bhukti, Jupiter Mercury, and his Mercury is in the 8th house, aspected by Rahu, aspected by the Sun, two malefics. So that was from July 67 to October 69 was the Mercury Bhukti, and it's in the 8th house. So it was dangerous, but anyway. There would have to be a certain amount of restriction, problems in married life because of Saturn, even though Saturn's exalted in the 7th. Saturn in the 7th in any sign is going to create how many children they
11.
had.
11.
Now I want to go to the composite for a minute.
Sure.
Composite chart.
Yes.
Okay. The best thing that I can tell you about this composite chart, the thing I like the most, the North Node in a Western chart, the North Node tells me what the people are supposed to be doing. The North Node's in Cancer, the North Node is in the 4th house. So the purpose of this relationship was to have a family. So this would bring him back to that relationship. And it would create having lots of children because, the North Node is usually in a house and a sign that are different. It could be the North Node in Cancer, which means family, and the North Node in, some other house, the 2nd house. So they're going toward family and they're going toward money. But in this case, the North Node's in the house of family, and it's in the sign of family. That's very powerful. They knew that family was most important. There was also, according to this chart, a tremendous amount of friendship. And, they always show films of the Kennedys playing football, and, she was out there playing with them. She was in the sports with them. So you've got Sun, Mercury, and Venus in the 11th house, friends, in the 11th sign, the sign of Aquarius, friends and groups. So there would be lots of group activity together, lots of friends together. Their relationship would have a tremendous amount of friendship. Now, there is a tight Pluto-Moon conjunction. There's a tight, so Pluto is 13 Capricorn, Moon is 13 Capricorn, and Pluto is 14 Cancer. So there had to be a certain amount of each of the people feeling that one was trying to dominate the other, tell the other how to be, something like that. And Uranus is close to the Ascendant. Uranus is, now in the Hindu, it looks like it's in the 12th house. Uranus is 27 Pisces, and the Ascendant is 4 Aries. So they're about Uranus is about 7 degrees away from the Ascendant. And so that relationship was unconventional. There was a certain amount of, the fact that she saw his affairs and lived with it. There was a certain amount of unconventional, but also a lot of excitement. So this one, I like the friendship aspect. Also, Mars is in 3 degrees Capricorn, and the career house, the beginning of the career house, which is called the midheaven in the Western system, is 2 degrees Capricorn. So Mars is right on the 10th house cusp. And that means that they could do a lot of things publicly. They could be a public figure, and they could do some career activities together as well. Okay, that's from Mars being right on the 10th house cusp. But family would be extremely important. She probably felt a certain amount of, here's a chart where you talk about family getting into the act. The North Node is right in the 4th house, and Pluto is in the 4th house opposite the moon. My guess is that there was a lot of pressure coming from the mother-in-law, from maybe Kennedy's mother, something like that. But the family, the manipulation and the coercion would come from the family to some extent because of this Pluto moon being in the 4th house and 10th house.
Rose Kennedy was supposed to have been a very controlling effect on her children, Robert, John F.
I think in this case, I think the family had a big influence on these 2 people. It's a composite chart, so I think the Kennedy family had a huge influence manipulating her and manipulating him. I think they both felt a lot of family pressure.
Yes, and especially after his brother died, after John F. Kennedy died, he had taken up the mantle of being, a father figure in the life of his niece and nephew also.
Yeah. Now there's a Venus opposite Neptune aspect here. And this is very tight. This is 3 degrees. Now we're talking Venus being love. Venus is 22 Aquarius, Neptune is 25 Leo. I would tell this couple, if before they were married, I would say Venus Neptune in a 3 degree aspect can be illusion, deception, or drugs, or it can be one person thinking they're going to save the other person. Oh, the man has problems, I'll fix the problems. Or the woman has problems and the man thinks, I'll save her. So this is a very strong aspect, 3 degrees. They're not going to go through the relationship without seeing Venus Neptune, and Venus Neptune is serious business for a relationship.
They did see each other, in the relationship. They did manage to help each other go through the relationship also. He probably with her family, and she in times of need in his political career, dusting everything under the carpet.
This is different. We're talking a Venus affliction by Neptune. People come to me for a relationship. They say, can we get married? And I say, look, Venus is love and Neptune is illusion, deception, drugs, and alcohol. So you've got a few possibilities. Either there's going to be one person getting into drugs and alcohol, or one person getting into illusion, deception, or one person thinks they're going to save the other person. I don't know any other way Venus Neptune in a negative aspect. I don't know any other way it's going to work. If it was Venus trine Neptune, Venus sextile Neptune, which is the trine is a,
159, 159.
Yeah. And the sextile is 60 degrees, Venus and Neptune. If they're 60 degrees, that's a positive aspect. This is a negative aspect. They're not going to get away with it. They're not going to get away with going through that relationship without Neptune acting up. It's not going to happen.
Can I ask you a question here, James? Could it be that she just did not show, any person who has to live with a infidel partner would definitely, be it a male or a female, would definitely have a bleeding heart. But she maintained the illusion of a happy marriage all over.
She's very strong. So she's got Mars in the first house.
House.
She's very, very, very strong. She has Mars in the first house, and the sun, the Atma, the sun, is within 4 degrees of Jupiter. That is a person where the soul, the Atma, is very, very strong. She knows who she is. I'll tell you a funny story about that. My son has sun in the 9th house, 5 degrees away from Jupiter in Pisces. So the sun is very strong. When he was, I can't remember, he was 7 or 8 years old or something, and I forget what he said, and he said something to me and walked away, and he was walking down the hallway, and I said, "You really know who you are?" And he goes, "I've always known who I am." That's a very strong sun. Okay, if you talk to me when I was 10, 12, 15, 17, I still didn't know who I was. You know, I was still looking for who am I. But when the sun is strong, the person knows who they are. And her sun is strong, and Mars in the first. So she could take it. She could take it. Many people couldn't.
Yes.
But this is one, you know, if I was seeing them, I would be most concerned with Pluto moon, because that aspect is within 1 degree. And I would say, have you seen each other try to manipulate each other, or have the families tried to manipulate you? You need to see that and then see if you can live with it. Is there any illusion, deception? Now, the Neptune is a problem because you could get together with somebody and they're not into drugs and alcohol, and later on they could be. And so I would say you need to look at that Neptune and see, is it possible one of these people is going to be illusion, deception, drugs, or alcohol? You need to know that.
It's a beautiful revelation. It's. I mean, we have taken up 2 cases. One case is that of which will unfold itself of a very young couple, to say, and it will eventually unfold itself over the years to come. And the other is of a couple who has gone through the test of time and who have lived their life, where unfortunately one of them passed away, was assassinated. But we see so many things, judging by all that comes out of the relationships, we see so many things happening. So synchronicity is a different aspect, but composite chart, as we see it, has so much to tell about a relationship. Just today, I was discussing this with a friend, James, that the many people who complain that the Indian system of Kuta matching is not working. And we see Indians are big on astrology and marriage matching. We see a number of relationships, even in India, falling apart after having gone through the litmus test via the astrologer. So this is so much more comfortable to know what your strengths and your weaknesses in a relationship is going to be, what the strengths and weaknesses of the relationship is going to be, how can you work on it, and how you can test it. This is a very beautiful way.
Tell them, I would say, you know how strong your friendship is? They say yes. And I'd say, that's never going away. Their friendship aspect, he could do anything, they would still be friends. She could do anything, they would still be friends. 3 planets in the 11th house. In Aquarius, the friendship was tremendous. But the composite chart, the synastry works also, but the synastry is not nearly as important to me. The composite chart is just much more important, and I've seen this, and I'll tell you that I've seen people who they said they're together, 5 or 6 months, and they hadn't seen the negative aspects. And I would just shake my head. How can they not have seen this yet? They get married, and then I hear from them a year or 2 later about how bad it is. How they didn't see it before that is beyond me. But the composite charts, That's why if someone comes for a composite, I tell them, I say, don't do this with me unless, I'm going to be blunt, because if there's a deal breaker there, I'm going to say walk away. Just walk away. And that's Saturn Moon. It's Mars Saturn when they're close. And then there's other aspects, just if they're really tight and really bad, you know. But I'll be blunt, because they're not going to change them. They think they're going to change the aspects. They're not going to change the aspects.
Okay, on this note, I think I'll ask some general questions. So it's about the karma theory that the Indians postulate, that most Indians say that you should not be doing marriage matching, especially we as grihasthas or householders should not be doing marriage matching, because we are interfering in the karma of two other people. How far would you justify this statement?
This is hysterical. What's the point of astrology if not to, here's what I would say. I would say, let's say that you know two people that are getting married and you see the composite. Now, and they don't come for a reading, but you've seen it. If you go to them and say, hey, I've seen your composite, they don't ask you. They don't ask you for it. Now you're interfering. But if they come to you and ask, you say, this is what I see, and then you make the decision.
Great.
That's how I see it. I mean,
yes, so I totally agree with you. They came to you for a review, and you gave it to them, and you're not taking decisions on their behalf. You're asking them to take their own.
Not only that, some people you tell them, and they don't care. They do it anyway. So that's fine. Really, that's fine.
Yeah, that's so many times the case. We've also, all of us as astrologers have gone through such cases also. When you tell them that, you're not compatible, and they go ahead and they prove you wrong, or they prove you right, either which ways, but they do go ahead on that. Yeah, but each to his own. We as astrologers would have done our bit as and when asked.
You know, I had a friend, and he got married, and they stayed together for 12 years. And they had the worst composite I'd ever seen. And I used to scratch my head. How did they do it? They used to fight all the time. They fought all the time. But they stayed together for 12 years. Then they divorced. It was the worst divorce I ever saw. They don't speak to each other. So the composite was working. It was a terrible composite. They fought for 12 years. Then they split up. And then they, so the composite works.
Yes, the composite works. So you're saying that the composite works because it's not you and me, it's the us that is working here. The persons in their individual right can be very beautiful people, but the composite may not be in synchrony with each other. So
I was surprised when I saw it, because I didn't know, I wasn't doing these charts when they got married. After they got married, and I said, how are they married for 8 years, 10 years? How is this happening? Yeah, they fight a lot, but I was surprised they were together. But then when they divorced, and I saw that it was one of the worst divorces I'd ever seen, then I said, boy, it really does work.
Yes. So astrology
but I wouldn't have
works.
expected them to stay together, but they fought all the time. They fought. I was just going to say, I don't think I have seen a composite chart that was extreme in one way that didn't work. I've seen natal charts where they go wrong. I've seen, synastry may not be, but with the composite charts, even when I say there's bad stuff and they say, no, everything's great, soon they find it. The composites I find very accurate. But anyway, yeah, that's enough said on these.
Yes, and okay, so the composite is a beautiful topic, relatively little difficult, but if we take it very religiously, and James, after 40 years in astrology, has to say that the composites work better than any other system of marriage matching. In that case, please do take a note.
I forgot to say one thing. first of all, if you're doing composites, you should know the Western aspects. So again, my book, How to Be, I'm looking for the book, it's up there, How to Be a Great Astrologer, that's the Western aspects. But the other thing I want to say is, when it comes to finding the midpoints of the ascendant, there's different ways to do it. In other words, should you go back from Taurus to Pisces, should you go in between that way, or do you go around to Sagittarius or Libra? Anyway, the composite method that I used is the Robert Hand method. So if you're getting a computer program that's going to do composites, get the one with the Robert Hand method. Okay.
Okay. So with the 40 years of experience that he has, and when he says that he finds composite never going wrong, there's a wealth of information behind it, there's a wealth of experience behind it. Not something to be taken lightly. Thank you so much, James.
And one other thing I forgot, there is a book, Planets in Composite by Robert Hand.
Okay.
That's all.
For those who really want to take it on seriously, James has given us the name of a book, The Planets in Composite by Robert Hand. So you can look it up over Amazon or any other place. And if you really want to go there, because this is a fascinating topic, relationships today are breaking up so fast that we really need to understand the reason behind it. Having said that, have a great time, and we'll come back for more. This has been a serious and a very strong topic. So please do leave behind your views, your comments, and let us see how we can improvise on the next round through. Till we meet again, stay safe, stay happy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, James.
You're welcome.